So I just finished watching the US GP. Man, I am so hyped that the US has embraced F1. I mean, the whole week was so exciting. You had, really, for the first time in the country, the sports fans really embracing the sport. Before, I was watching the 2018 race, or I think that's what it was, the one where Kimi Räikkönen won his last race, and the atmosphere was just nowhere like this, and even my friends who are not F1 fans knew this race was coming. I mean, I'm a pretty avid sports fan, but in years past, I had no idea when F1 was coming to the US, and to get to that point where even non-sports fans know, that is insane. The atmosphere was crazy. Before F1 would come to the US, and it was like, they were begging you fans to come. They were like having Taylor Swift concerts, trying to get fans to come to the US race. Nowadays, the US fans wanted to show up. It was like, no, we want to be a part of this championship battle. We want to see this race. And throughout the whole week, you had so much hype. You had the NBA partnering with F1, my two favorite sports, coming together. Was incredible. You had that free throw contest. You had Chris Bosh and Shaq on the grid. It was a good time. You had ESPN hyping up this race, and they put it on ABC and everything. I have a feeling they are really trying to hit that potentially 2 million viewership mark, something that F1 has never hit in the US. And it was so cool having this excitement over F1, and it's something special because you have the NFL, you have the NBA, these sports that have been popular in the US for 50 years, but to have something new and have something new in this US sports atmosphere was a unique experience, and the excitement for it is so fun. The atmosphere, it was so, you could feel something there. The atmosphere of the fans and everything, packed crowd. It felt, I was watching some old NASCAR races, and it felt like the buzz of a early 2000s, 1990s NASCAR race. It was like the buzz you got watching Dale Jr. win the Daytona 400 after his dad died. It felt like that. It was this great atmosphere, and it shows that even though IndyCar ratings are down, even though NASCAR ratings are down, there are definitely racing fans in the US. There is a potential, this craving for racing. It's not that this new generation of people don't like fast cars. People are still down to watch a race like they watched NASCAR races back in the 2000s. F1 was able to hone into that, and it shows that NASCAR and IndyCar need to learn something, and they do still have a chance to be big in this country. It's exciting that motorsport is popular here. Yeah, it's just so fun to be a part of something that's growing, that is fun and deserves it and is special. It's fun. I'm so glad I became an F1 fan this year, and that there is so much buzz in the US, because this excitement is just great. It's just so exciting and enjoyable to be a part of. And I know they get a lot of hate, and I know especially this week with Verstappen's comments, Drive to Survive gets a lot of hate, but that crowd, that atmosphere would not have been there if it were not for Drive to Survive. Liberty Media in 2018 started a mission to grow in the United States, and we are finally seeing the fruits of their labor. It is working. And Drive to Survive was probably one of the biggest marketing tools they set out to capture the US audience with. I mean, what it did was it gave us personality to the drivers. We got to know basically all 20 drivers in the grid, and when you know people, you want to cheer for them, and that's how it grew. I tried watching IndyCar this year for the first time, like I was watching F1 for the first time, but I just could not engage with IndyCar because I had no idea who anyone was except for like Jimmy Johnson. And that's because IndyCar doesn't have marketing that lets me know their personalities of all these drivers and everything, but Drive to Survive did that. It brought personalities out. We are a superstar-based culture here in America. In the NBA, you don't root for teams, you root for your favorite player. In the NFL, you hear about Tom Brady all the time, but you don't hear about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You hear about Tom Brady specifically, you know? And so showing the driver's personality in Drive to Survive was a game changer. Even if the storylines weren't accurate, we saw the personalities. We know that Daniel Ricciardo is a fun, smiling, goofy guy. That can't be faked. We know that Lewis and Max are a little more serious people. That's not something that's fake. And we get these personalities, so we know the characters in the real life storylines that are true. I felt so much energy, so much buzz. It felt like the most energy and the best crowd of a non-home team. You know, like, of course, Silverstone's gonna have a crazy crowd. Of course, you know, the Dutch fans are gonna be crazy for Max. But for a neutral site, this felt like it had the most buzz out of a neutral site race. There were 200,000 people. You could feel the energy. And I mean, this is the most energy I've felt for a F1 race personally because I got to watch it live. This was the first race I ever got to watch live because of the time zone. And I felt the energy because it was in my home country. And now, you know, even though I've loved the F1 season so far, now that my country gets to be a part of it, now I understand really why F1 is awesome, why this atmosphere is awesome, and why it's such a fantastic, entertaining sport. But anyway, on to the actual race itself. What a start by Lewis Hamilton, just getting off the line, a near perfect start, as perfect as he could be, getting off the line, passing Max on lap 1, but then you could immediately tell the Red Bull is faster. And I think it's just straight up clear cut. The Red Bull Honda is a much better car than the Mercedes this year. It should be the car to beat. Honestly, watching the race, it felt like Mercedes and Red Bull, Lewis and Max, even though the strategies were very different, felt like both teams made the right call. There were no pit mistakes. It felt like Red Bull and Mercedes both ran the best possible race they could have. They basically ran perfect races, and in the end, Red Bull came out on top. And that just shows that their car is better, and to me, that shows that they are going to win the Constructors' Championship, and Max is going to win the Drivers' Championship. Like, Lewis and Mercedes ran the best possible race they could have, and it wasn't enough to beat Red Bull's best. Nothing weird happened in this race, like a weird strategy call, or a botched pit stop, or a collision, or a safety car, or anything, and it was just a clean race, and Red Bull came out on top. It's gonna look like they're gonna win it all. And what a drive by Max, holding off Lewis there at the end, where it seemed like surely Lewis was gonna pass him, and Max able to hold him off. That was incredible. He was so fast through the S's, getting through sector 1. Like, the talent on that guy is it's insane. It's insane how talented he is, how just great Max Verstappen is. And I mean, we saw how great Lewis was. Like I said, a perfect race from Lewis and Max and their teams, and it showed just how far and away Lewis and Max are better than everyone. They had like a 40-second gap to everyone else. Incredible. I do think, though, not all hope is lost for Mercedes, at least for next year, because with Honda out of the picture, and of course this year Mercedes got nerfed a little bit with some of the stuff in their car having to be removed, like with Aston Martin's car, same thing, slowed them down a lot, and their focus on the 2022 car. I think in 2022 we could still, even if they lose this championship, we could still see Mercedes rise back up and dominate every single race like they used to, with Honda gone and with them being able to fully focus on one car. I think we'll see them return to form. And the Mick Schumacher thing, I think some people might say, well, Lewis couldn't catch up because Mick gave Max DRS, but I think it evened out because he was also in the way. He gave Max a lot of dirty air, so Max getting DRS, I think, in my mind, it evened out. Of course, I am a new F1 fan, just talking straight out of my mind right after the race. Still a little hype, so I might not be saying anything accurate, but I think it evened out and Mick wasn't really a factor in that last lap. And I am so glad that that race came down to a last lap battle, because if this race sucked, that would have set F1 back in the US by a couple years. But the fact that this was a great race, I don't know if it was an all-time great race, but I saw someone on Reddit saying this was the best race where nothing weird happened, you know? The best normal race. There were no crashes, there was no weird pit stop things like I was saying earlier. This was the best normal race of the season, and to get just a great race in front of 200,000 people, in front of probably, hopefully over 1 million US viewers for the first time on television, to get a great race, I think, man, it is true what Lewis said on the podium. F1 finally has a foothold in the US, and it is so exciting to be a part of it. I am so glad I became a fan right now, because it's one thing to just enjoy a sport like football or basketball, but it's another thing to enjoy a sport and see it grow in your country, and one day you find out this person has become a fan of the sport and this person has become a fan of the sport, and it's just so fun to be a part of it. I'm so glad I became a fan during this season, and I'm excited that I made a YouTube channel where I can talk about it. It is going to be a great future. F1 is going to have such an exciting future in the US, especially if Andretti comes in and Colton Herta comes in. We'll have someone to cheer for over here. This is such a special thing to be a part of. Like, I've always wondered, man, when the NBA started, for example, 50 years ago, that must have been fun being one of the OG fans, and some of them still being alive today, to see it grow to what it is. It feels like we're at the start of something fresh and unique in the US, and it's so exciting. Like I said, being able to watch it live for the first time, being at my home country, I felt this energy for the race that I had not felt for any other race this season. Wasn't the best race of the year, but man, was it the one where I really felt it in the heart, felt something special. I am so excited about F1 in the United States. Leave a comment with what you thought on the race, leave a like if you thought this video was decent, and subscribe for more racing content. Thanks for watching, have a great day.